Is this thing on? What is happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having themselves a fantastic Saturday night. If you're watching this, chances are Saturday did not go quite as you had planned. Hope everybody's staying healthy out there. What with old COVID-19 coming to kill us all. So lately it's been a little bit hysterical, but a lot of the tracks have been closed down. I've been really wanting to get the car back to the drag strip to get some data on this thing, but just has not been happening. As a matter of fact, one of the big issues that we've been running into lately around here has just been tires. I have got to order up a set of tires for this thing. And hopefully here pretty soon I'll be able to do that. So going to go with a set of 305, 45, 17s. Going to stick with those Mickey Thompson ET Street Rs. They have been doing a really good job thus far. So going to stick with that coming into the spring season that we've got coming up. But for the dailies, I'm just going to stick with the Nitto Tri 5s. It is it's been a bit of a pain in the ass. Not really been able to get to the drag strip lately. Wouldn't have been able to go if COVID wasn't trying to take us all out anyway. This past Friday, it was raining. So there's that. I was able to have a little bit of fun though. Filmed a intro for my wife's virtual learning. All the kids are having to do the whole homeschool thing right now. So I did a bit of a kind of an intro for her and her co-teacher. So that was pretty cool. But aside from that, that's been about it, man. I'll tell you what, the honey-do list is getting pretty freaking long. Although I've got a bunch of projects I can work on. Man, horsepower therapy, that's going to have to be coming here pretty soon. Let's see who all's in. And let's see. Hey, Dr. Diff's in. Saying, B. Mason, my man, how you been? I wanted to tell you, TSP sending the rod and piston. It's fixable. Awesome. If y'all don't know, Dr. Diff made it to the finals at 2K with the truck and heavyweight class. Had a bit of a odd issue come up. Wasn't able to make the call for the finals, but looks like everything's fixable. So that's awesome, man. Congrats on that. Jared Armstrong saying, what up, bro? Got the arm flex. What's up, homie? Alex Andrews saying, hey, B. Mason, how's this quarantine treating you? Yeah, it's a real hoot and a holler. Let me tell you. Actually, what's funny is my life really hasn't been altered too much, aside from the fact that the track's been closed, but it was raining. It's, it just keep on the trucking. It's weird the gym's closed, but other than that, that's it. Like I say, not a whole lot different. Just kind of still trucking, rocking and rolling. The yard grass keeps growing, man, and stuff around the house still needs to get done. But aside from that, not too bad. Hopefully he's treating you well too. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to drag out my old PS2. I've got some video gaming I need to catch up on from old back in the day stuff. Stocking up on Cocoa Krispies and Fruity Pebbles too. Let's see. Dr. Diff is saying, I like my Nittos, but love the way it looks on the drag pack with the radials. Sucks in the rain. Yeah, it does. Dr. Diff's lockdown's all stupid. I was saying, wish I had projects to work on. I'm going nutty and stir crazy. And then Fastman saying, we're shut down in Illinois. Yeah, you guys are shut down. Yeah, no, I've just got a little, not really car stuff. Well, kind of car stuff. I'll be working on my wife's Camaro a little bit, getting the dash pulled apart, getting it ready to get sent off to get redone. And then, tires, stuff like that. I've got a bunch of little things to do to the Camaro, getting it roadworthy, but really not a whole lot going on. Let's see. Dr. Diff saying the daycare is closed. Damn, that sucks. Oh, kiddo's going to be spending some time with the Grams. That's cool. And then X-Cash is saying, I'm loving it. No traffic, plenty of parking. Only sucks all the restaurants. Yeah, I hear that. That does kind of suck. But yeah, no traffic's been actually pretty good. Man, I've been able to get around town without any real issues. So at least there's that. My stuff that I do isn't really slowing down. The construction side, those guys are all outdoors and they're really not in a situation where, they're going to be too affected. It looks like, at least for the time being, but that can change. Let's see. Oh, Symphonic saying, what up, B? Just took delivery. Oh, got the arm flex saying, just took delivery of my new 15 Mustang GT 50th anniversary. Those are awesome cars. I had a buddy of mine that had one. Only issue is it has these Nexen 5000 tires. I've never heard of them. You got any info? Are they any good? You know what? They're tires, man. They're not that bad. You know, even the crappy tires today aren't really half bad. I say just get out there and have fun with them. I mean, you know, they're not a Turo AZ850 quality, right? So at least you got that. But no, you'll be in good shape with those. You'll be fine. Ruben's checking in, saying watching from lockdown California, man. Yeah, California is totally shut down. So that's you'll find workarounds on that deal. But yeah, that sucks, man. Definitely sucks. Lockdown sucks, but you know what? It's for the greater good. Let them get this stuff sorted out, figured out, and we'll move on from here. But anyway, getting back to it. So been trying to put together this. I had a response video for the GT500. Some of the responses to the responses on some of those questions, comments, and concerns videos. And it's been kind of funny that, you know, when I was looking into making that response video, you know, tempering it with me trying to, you know, be respectful for some of these guys, and that got kind of thrown out the window. So I'm going to have to go back and refilm it. But anyway, it's pretty interesting how the mere mention of the GT500 or even now the Vet has been stirring up so much shit out there on the internet. So one of the interesting things I wanted to bring up is the Corvette, because a lot of folks have been talking about the Vet. There's a lot of buzz behind the Corvette, and a lot of it hasn't been all that positive, strangely enough. And I'm a little bit taken aback by that, but I can kind of understand where guys are coming from. So one of the biggest issues that guys have been talking about is that the car seems to be a little bit slow. And the reality is that the Vet really isn't slow. It's just slower than a Hellcat or a GT500 or a Red Eye or, you know, a ZL1. It's slower by comparison, but it's not a very slow car. I know that Pikes was able to get Earhart's car down into the 1070 range. In fact, I was at the drag strip for that. And oddly enough, you know, I'm watching this car go 1070s, and it was going 1070s just with absolutely zero drama. It's on a 100 shot. And she was doing a good job of, you know, spray, lift on the shift, spray, lift on the shift, because they're trying to keep the transmission in one piece. And in really shitty air, that car went a 1070 at 128 miles an hour. If it had been in low DA, the car would have been into the 50s for sure. It ran a 73, and again, you know, bottle pressure, running out of nitrous, things like that. Car suffered for it, but again, it would have easily been in the 50s. So getting back to it, I found it kind of interesting that so many people have been saying that the new Vet is slow, and I'm thinking, damn, man, I remember when an 11-second car, you know, a 12.0 car was fast. You know, now 1070s, and it's a letdown. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting and kind of funny to hear people saying, that car's a turd, when bone stock it goes, you know, a 12.0 on stock tires. Well, yeah, compared to a GT500 or compared to a Hellcat, Red Eye especially, yeah, it might be a little bit on the slow side. But anyway, it's just funny how far we've come to where now, you know, a 12.0 is considered a complete and total letdown. Thought that was funny. Let's see. Alex is hanging out with Ruben. Let's see. My Red Hemi saying, what's up, B? What's up, man? Got his HHP BES Stage 3 heads. Can't wait to get them installed and tuned. What do you recommend for suspension for a modified 5.7? Front, you can leave alone. For the rears, I would say, set of BMR trailing arms would be good along with the diff brace. The Performance Extreme is a really good one. But that's about as far as you really need to go for that setup. I think other than that, you'll be in good shape, and I think you'll have a good and a well-sorted car. So Fonic's saying also it's a six-speed manual car. Really looking forward to getting good at manual driving. Very cool. All I can say to that is practice, 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 and play, play, play. You need as much playtime as you can possibly get with that car. Look up SCCA. Get good at making it to SCCA events, because if you're good at making them, then you'll develop a skill set along the way. Look into some opportunities to just learn the car as much as possible. But again, you learn the best through playing with them. And to be honest with you, that's the best advice I can get you to be good with a manual transmission. Dr. Div saying he wants to see a Camshaft. Yeah, that one would be awesome to see a Camshaft. The only thing is that I want to see the stock cam specs for the Vet, because the stock Vet, here's the funny thing. The stock Vet is putting down numbers that are nearly identical, just the other side, but so close that it almost looks like a dyno variant to a 6.4 liter. I shit you not, a 392 and the 6.2 liter are making basically the same horsepower. 6.4 is making a little bit more torque, but it's just funny to me to see the engine in the Vet with all the fancy whatever going on with it is struggling to make the same power numbers that the lowly 6.4 has been making since 2011. Not too good of a look. So what that tells me is that that engine is begging for more camshaft. The charts that I've seen on that engine, the power curve kind of comes up a little lazy and then flattens out. And anytime you see a power curve go flat, that's not a good thing. I mean, you want to be able to have a set RPM, have that thing pulling hard as hell and just starting to nose over at your shift point. When that horsepower curve goes flat, that means you are hemorrhaging torque at that point. So anyway, getting back to it, that engine rather is begging for more camshaft. And I'd love to see one with, a cam somewhere in like the 226, 228 on the intake side, probably 238-ish, 236 on the exhaust. Somewhere like a 113 LSA with like a 109 intake center line. That would be a stupid cam for that engine. Anyway, getting back to it. Ruben's saying the Venom Kills Demons chat room was epic. Oh, hell yeah, man. That was awesome. Monterey Hemi saying, thanks, brother. Shawnee saying, my track is still open for April 4th. Hoping it's not canceled. Nah, I'm hoping it's not too, brother. Dr. Div saying, I got a random one. That purple Charger we did, 8-speed car. How you feel on the 309 gear for it? Customer can pick one up for $250. I'd say it'd be awesome. I'd go for it because the 309 LSD, make sure it's limited slip. You got to remember they did make 309s that weren't limited slip. Check on that. But if it's a limited slip, I'd say jump on it. That'd be well worth it. Especially if it was originally a 262 car. Let's see. Oh, Sean, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Got the pair of lifted weights, man. I'll tell you something. It's weird. Gym's been shut down, and that sucks. Michael Williams saying can't see your face. Can't see my face. Is that true? What's hiding my face? Let's see. Alex is asking, do you know how much the LT1? Do you know much about the LT1 engine? How close is it to the LS3? It's not very close at all. How are they different from the Hemis, and what makes them better or worse? Good question. Thanks again, Sean. I appreciate that, brother. Contribution to the cause. First of all, LT1 is direct injection, which gives you a few good points and a few bad points to the Hemi. The rest of it, it's an engine. So, the same rules apply. Put a bigger camshaft in it, it'll run better. The problem with that, again, direct injection. The very front of that cam, you've got lobes for the fuel. the fuel pump basically. Bigger lobes gets you more duration on the fuel pump, makes more pressure. Problem with that, there's a few problems with that. It's more tuning than anything else, but you can tune those cars just fine. And they can make some great power. My problem is that the direct injected engines will start to coke the intake valves with kind of a soot. And the reason for that is there's no fuel hitting the back of the intake valve to clean it and to keep it clean. For example, the Mustang has a dual mode fuel system. It is direct injected and it is also rail injected. And it's the rail injection that keeps those intake valves clean. I've seen variants of that engine have a ring of carbon around the intake valves. That's got to be manually cleaned, which can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Now, how much does it affect performance? I don't know. I mean, you might on a bad one, you might be looking at 2%, 3%. But let me tell you something. I paid for 100% of the power that engine's going to make. I don't want it to be an issue. So. But they are durable. They're stout engines. As far as, what makes them better or worse, the heads are good. The heads flow about the same as I think a good set of LS3 heads flow, but I don't have a ton of experience with them, but I've got some, and if it's me, I'd rather have anything with an LS3 than an LT1. Oh, Shawnee's saying 315 NT05Rs, a little burnout. Did a 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds in full street trim. Respectable for the street. Very respectable for the street. Dr. Differential's Corvette needs a B Mason. Dr. Differential Speed Shop cam. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man, I've got a cam in mind for that car because the intake manifold is a short runner intake from the factory on that thing. So, yeah, I would say that thing with just a good, I'm not going to say a run of the mill because there's really no such thing, but a good camshaft that'll let the thing breathe, but mainly make some mid and upper mid-range power. So when you hit the shift on those cars, you've got more torque to fall back onto. Give that car something like that and it would make a major difference. I have a feeling that car would pick up probably 70 horsepower to the rear wheels with a cam. I kid you not. That's how much I think that car could pick up. Michael's saying full bolt-on 5.7. Is it worth it for a custom grind cam, or can I make some decent power and save some mile per gallon with a stock non-MDS cam to replace my current MDS cam? Man, if you're pulling the thing apart, you need to be going back in with something that's going to make you some power. It's not a cheap proposition to put a cam in one of those cars. I would say that it would be a good idea to give Dr. Diff a shout. He's got some cams out there that would be perfect for your combination, whether you want something that's going to pick you up a little bit of power but not have too much of a lope for like a daily, or if you want something that's going to make a ton of power and be rowdy. I mean, there's ways to get around that, especially with a 5.7. And 5.7s react very well to camshafts. So it's really more up to you as far as where you are in terms of budget, number one, and number two, what your goals are for the car, what your plans are for it. So now, or truck, it doesn't, truck or car. So better to go with a custom grind. Dr. just saying it's a 6.2 posi car. Do you know if the posi will go into the 309 gear set, or is there a carrier brake? I can tell you this, leading up to here very recently, the ZF rear ends were non-serviceable units. So not sure as far as all that goes. I'm pretty sure it uses the same carrier. Couldn't imagine that it wouldn't. But that being said, I've never personally worked on one, so it's just speculation at that point. But, 309 ring and pinion in there would, if you could make it work, would be a pretty badass deal. For sure. But it should be the same carrier, though. I could not imagine it being a different carrier. Alex saying, Moggy, you can't use a non-MDS cam without replacing MDS lifters and tuning MDS out of the system. That is true. Sean saying, I'm lucky propane is in demand. I'm fully employed, 50 plus hours a week, blue collar work. Hey, man, I'm right there with you, dude. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Uncle Stinkford saying, what up, dude? Just dropped the 392 Charger off the stands from winter, and I am in upstate New York. We are in lockdown, but have a pass because I work QC for a company that makes COVID-19 testing supplies. I bet you did get a pass, brother. Stay healthy out there, man. Wear your gloves, masks, trash bags, whatever you got to put on, man. Stay healthy out there. Alex is saying, if you're going to get a new cam and delete MDS, you might as well just get a custom grind cam. You'll pick up maybe 40, 50 to the wheels at max, though. That's if you're lucky, you'll pick up. Well, on a 5.7, you'll pick up some decent numbers. But I don't like quoting numbers. Let me tell you why. For a lot of guys that are looking for a peak number type of a cam, what you'll forget is that peak numbers are irrelevant when you're driving the car like a normal automobile, okay? If you're at a drag strip and you're ringing the thing out, then yeah, you want as much airflow as you can muster. The problem comes when you're driving it normally and you don't want to put a cam together that's going to kill partial throttle drivability. So, the max effort cams are also some of the cams that make driving the car freaking miserable. There's a lot of guys that have put cams in cars over the years, and this isn't anything new. I mean, we're talking about since, custom grind cams off the shelf cams have been available. There's been a lot of guys that have run into the problem of that. Well, they're finding out that the drivability starts to suck and they lose that partial throttle response, and the car's just not as much fun to drive. So put a cam together that works for what you will be doing with the car. That's the most important thing. Don't worry about the horsepower number, because chances are it's going to pick up power everywhere if it's done right. But let your mind do the thinking, not your heart, when it comes to picking a cam out. And Dr. Diff saying, port injection for the win. Shawnee's saying 12.0 on the street is always going to be fast to me. Absolutely. Yeah, I will agree with that. Dr. Diff saying, I'll be making it work then if the one he's getting is non-posi. Yeah, check that out and just make sure. Destroyer Scat Pack saying, hi, Brian. North Carolina B. Mason, great channel. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Jamie's asking, are you going to be porting intakes this year, or are you retired from port work? I will probably start porting intakes again once we get through all this lockdown bullshit that we're dealing with. So might be about a month off this year, probably start tail end of April. Destroyer Scat saying, hey, Shawnee. Destroyer Scat saying, I can't spell. That's awesome. But getting back to it, guys, yeah, question about the intakes. It's, while we're going through all of this stuff, I'm going to get some stuff done around the house before I start messing with the intakes, but I'll be back on those probably the tail end of next month, hopefully. Assuming the COVID doesn't kill us all, right? But, yeah, so anyway, getting back to, the conversation we had last time, we were talking about fun versus fast. And, the Corvette, the crappy part about the Vet is that it does have a DSG style transmission. It's got an engine that's supposed to be making 495 horsepower, and it's still put down a number that is eerily familiar to any 6.4 guy with a slush box automatic. Why is that a thing? Well, the reason why that's a thing is because DSGs are touted to be more efficient. And it's a transaxle, which means you don't have a drive shaft, although you do have a torque. You don't have anything. It's just a transaxle. So No drive shaft to weight the thing down and to create inertial drag. You don't have any of that. The car makes $495. It's going on a dyno, and it's making these numbers that are eerily similar to what a 392 will put down through an automatic, through a drive shaft, a two-piece drive shaft. That just goes to show how strong that 392 really is. It's not saying that the Corvette is weak, but it doesn't really paint the right picture. The right picture is, damn, look how strong the 392 is. Even going through the automatic, it's laying down numbers that are similar. So anyway, is the Vette going to be fun to drive, though? That's kind of the point to owning a car like that. It's got to be fun to drive, or else the ownership experience is pretty much useless. So for me, I don't know, man. I'm really on the fence with this. And these DSG transmissions have yet to prove themselves. I'm a little bit worried only because of the cost to replace or repair one of those transmissions is going to be astronomical. So it would really suck to be driving the car the way that it was meant to be driven, right? I mean, it's what we've always said. Cars are meant to be enjoyed. But if people start having problems with those things, or they start to get jerky, with how they, are launching them at low RPM, things like that, just I say launching at low RPM, driving the car at low RPM, low load scenarios, things like that. I'm just saying, hopefully they got it right, and we'll see how long it lasts. That's the main thing. So, Dr. Div's asking, so what's the original topic? I need an intake ported as we speak. Give me a holler, man. We'll get that worked out, bud. And about 3 more afterwards. Yeah, just give me a holler and we'll get that knocked out. I've got to get all my stuff lined out and get everything set up and ready to go. But yeah, we will be on that. For you, it's a little bit different story, but for anybody outside of the community, so to speak, for civilians rather, got to take care of the speed shop first. Alex is asking, do you think the Hemi will survive into the next gen Challengers and Chargers? Heard they might use that new Tornado 6 with a turbo instead and only save one V8 for the top trim level. So, God, what is the guy's name? I'm having a hard time remembering. Anyway, it has already been stated that the Hemi is going to be moving forward. There is no plan to eliminate the 5.7, the 6.4, or the 6.2 moving into the next platform. Mainly because the next platform is just a modified version of the LX, or at least that's what we've been told, so to speak. And when I say LX, that's just a generic overview for Challengers, Chargers, the 300, pretty much anything that's built on the old Mercedes platform. So that being said, the new platform is going to be a slightly revised, possibly a little bit lighter version of the one that we've all learned to love and know. The only downside that I can see to that would possibly be if there's any change in any of the cafe fuel mileage laws or regulations, or however they're going to call them. But I don't think that there's going to be any real change, to be honest with you. There was some talk when we were talking about the Giulia, then the Ghibli, and then a couple of other platforms that they were going to move into. The biggest issue with that, though, is that they couldn't viably make the V8s work for them. And if you can't make the V8 work for them, then that's the reason why you're not going with those platforms. Then it kind of squashes the argument for the V6 turbo being the successor. And really, not that that's a bad thing. I mean, you got to remember, guys, Mopar had been doing the smaller displacement with a turbo thing way before it was fashionable back in the 80s, man. I mean, we're talking 40 years ago, they had turbo 4-cylinders that were, they were doing all right on their own, and so, little hot hatch Omnis and the Daytonas, all of those, the ES platform, again, another sedan with the turbo 4-cylinder. I had one when I was a kid. So yeah, they're fun. They were pretty quick and get away with a lot of things with those cars. So anyway, long story short, I don't see them making too many major changes. This platform is doing way too well right now, especially in terms of being profitable. I just don't see there being any major changes with the new platform. And that's a bit of a sticking point for me. It sucks in a way because I doubt we're going to get any changes with the engines. Not that that's a bad thing, but we're going to be kind of dealing with the same stuff moving forward. I only hope that the aftermarket sees that as an opportunity to start giving us a little bit more to work with. And I guess that's the thing, that it's like a double-edged sword. If the platform is out for a long time, then the aftermarket has more reason to start to look at it as a viable place to generate revenue. But the downside to it is that we don't have the original equipment manufacturer putting any real thought or soul or anything like that into the cars. They're just new trim levels. And quite honestly, that's how I see any of the new platforms, just like another trim level. So there's that. Jamie's saying, cool, thanks for all the useful info on the Mopars. Arm flex, I like it. You're welcome, buddy. Lewis saying, have you ever seen anyone use the Oct Performance dual plane intake on a 6.4? So I have only seen, no, I haven't seen that. I don't think I've seen that one. I have seen a dual quad manifold on the third gen Hemi, but they're very few and far between. Nobody typically messes with them. Let's see. Alex is asking, do we have any clue what they're modifying for the next iteration of the LX? Hopefully it includes less weight and lower spring heights, eliminates that 4x4 look. Aluminum block would be nice too. So far as I know, and take this for what it's worth, the new LX platforms are going to be slightly smaller, and that's where the weight savings is going to come from. It'll be a little bit more, again, this is just the rumor, a little bit more of like a little bit more modern approach to the cars, but nothing that wouldn't be, I mean, it's all immediately recognizable, but nothing that is too far from what they already are now. And that's even if they move forward with it. Right now, the LX platform has been licensed through 2023. Well, shit, that's a long ways away. When you consider that it's been kind of in place since 2008. Again, it's a good thing. It just means you can get your hands on one of these things fairly easily. It's a bummer if you look at it from an evolution of the species point of view. But you know, Mopar does a great job of staying in their lane. You know, they know what kind of car they're making. They know who their audience is, and they're rolling with it. So my only concern would be, yes, number one, are they going to have an aluminum block ever? Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. But and two, if the car is going to be lighter, it needs to be lighter by a significant amount. You know, a couple of 100 pounds is kind of where you need to start. I mean, that would at least put them in the same weight class as the GT500. Oh, wait, they're basically in the same weight class if only 5% is keeping you away from each other. The nerve. Anyway, they're not that far away from where they need to be, but, you know, a couple of 100 pounds would certainly help. And that's a good place to start. But I doubt that it's going to be lighter by much more than that. Dr. New saying, I want to see a CUDA SRT8 Hellcat red eye. I'd trade the truck after putting my stock engine back in. But yeah, I'd like to see something come from them. What I'd really like to see come from the Mopar camp is a viable Viper. One of the biggest criticisms that I've had as a former Viper owner 3 times over has been the fact, and I've been lamenting this for some time now, the Viper never had an audience, not in the United States and certainly not overseas. The Viper had a huge, was at a very huge deficit, or at least disadvantage, I should say, because it was never offered with an automatic transmission. And that's where the Corvette has universal appeal. Anybody can get behind the wheel of a Corvette and drive it. Not anybody can get behind the wheel of a Viper and drive it. They're a little twitchy, a little sketchy to drive. Even the later versions are known for being a little bit bad about understeer. And so, yeah, all of those things have got to be, those concerns have got to be corrected with the Viper. But for me, or the new Cuda, whatever the new Halo car is going to be, it's got to be more fun, and it's got to be more universally targeted or universally acceptable in its approach, which means give it a regular manual transmission, that's fine, provided you've got an automatic that'll work with it, and ditch the V10. Look, the V10 was a neat thing back in 1995, but nowadays it's just not an economically viable engine platform. An 8-liter needs to be making 1,000 horsepower, or at least 750 or 800. It cannot be making, 650 horsepower in this day and age. Take that same aluminum, make a, aluminum Hellcat variant and put that thing in the car and have some fun with it. Hey, Derek, thank you very much, man. I appreciate the contribution to the cause. He's saying, I can't wait for the red-eye Charger. I hope it's not all BS. Definitely getting one of those. I tell you what, got the pair working out. I like it. I don't know if there's going to be a red-eye Charger. I would like to hope that there would be, but I will say this about the Charger. If you have not seen the Charger in the wide body, no matter what picture you see, it will not do that car justice. You have got to check this thing out. It is absolutely, it's a showstopper. You will stop what you're doing to check that car out. That's how good it looks. So I know a lot of you guys like the wide body Challengers. I get that, but dude, I'm telling you, the wide body Charger is the shit. It should have been like that from day one. Let's see. Shawnee is saying, hey, everybody, 392 equals C8 6.2 stock. Thoughts? Man, like I say, motor for motor, they're damn close. I'll put it to you like this. When you take a look at, let's say if you had a Scat Pack core, okay, take a Scat Pack core, put it on a drag pack, take it to your local drag strip and hammer on that thing. In really good DA, you can run 11s with it. The Corvette, but it's going to typically be like a 12.0 car. The Corvette in really good DA will be like an 11, let's say 1170 car. Some may have gone quicker, but DA for DA, if you're going to get a 12.0 out of a Challenger, you'll get an 1170 out of the Vette. But that's mainly due to the weight difference. It's certainly not due to any power difference. And when you consider the fact that the Challenger's got a torque converter style transmission, that is going to equate to that car being able to launch harder. That's going to put it way out on the Vette. Vette's going to have to come around it probably about the 1,000-foot mark. But again, we're talking about a car that weighs 1,000 pounds less, give or take. A 4,100, well, let's say at least 600 pounds less, 700 pounds less. That is the weight of what you would weigh if you were sitting on a GSXR 1000. All right. So you take the weight of a normal sized guy on a GSXR 1000, strap him to the roof of that Vette, and that's what it's going to take to get to the weight variant, or the weight difference between the Vette and the Challenger. In other words, Challenger's freaking heavy. And that's really where that torque converter automatic comes into play. It helps you get that car moving, which is what the Challenger needs. The Vette being lighter doesn't have that, but again, the Vette's got the DSG. But I will say this about the Vette. The Vette, when it launches, that car launches hard. It seems to launch harder than the GT500 so far as I can tell. Now, I've only seen the Vette in person, have not seen the GT500, but I will say that Vette, damn, it gets out of its own way nice too. So I don't know, all things equal, it's weird how when we're just talking about it, it's weird how you can have something that's that much heavier, but it's really not that much slower. And then when you start to consider the cost of the Vette, which is another weird thing about the Corvette, which is kind of turning into a little bit of a quirk for me right now, or at least a bit of a kink for me. The cost of these modern cars is getting a little bit nutty. So if you look at the new Vette, the Vette's going to cost you 80 grand. Okay. Yeah. They go, well, the poverty pack is 60 or 65. Yeah. That car is like a special order car. I doubt there's been too many of those actually made. I think most of them are somewhere in the $80,000 range. The new GT500 is going to cost you $85,000. A red eye is going to cost, just the cost of these things is getting weird. I mean, you've got to be pretty well heeled to be able to have one of these cars in your garage as it sits. And that kind of gets me to thinking about, okay, well, what are people going to really do with these things? Are you ever going to actually see these cars on drag strips or on closed circuits? I don't know that you will. And given the cost of these things, I don't know if a lot of people are going to be able to afford to do some of those activities with their cars, because I just don't know how many people are willing to shell out the $80,000 for some of these cars. I don't know. I mean, they seem to be selling, right? But damn, I mean, you've got to really want some of these cars to shell out that kind of money for them. It's just weird how they're just so disproportionately costly, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Derek's saying, what up, B? What up, Derek? Uncle Secret saying, it's also important to note that the LX platform is pretty far removed from the from the Mercedes platform. It's okay. So as somebody who has owned an 09 E63 AMG, let me just tell you this. If I put you in that E63 and then blindfolded you and put you into a Charger, you would not know the difference. If I started pulling that thing apart, stripped it down, even down to the fuel pump access in the back seat, the suspension alone would not look too far different. The S-Class front side and the E-Class rear. It is extremely close to it. So I wouldn't say at all that it's far removed. I would say that if you've been around the Mercedes, you would be extremely familiar with one of these cars. So much so, in fact, that it still kind of blows my mind. I don't know if parts are interchangeable between the two. I don't think that they are, but damn, popping the hood and seeing basically the same bolts in the same place and everything, it looks very familiar. Let's see. Lewis is saying, interesting. Let's see. Derek say, he's talking about the red eye. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if we're going to get one. I would like to see us get one, but that wide body is sick looking. Let's see. Dr. Div saying aluminum block for all the big three, 345, 392, or Hellcat. If it's an LX platform, put an aluminum block in it. Yeah, and you can't make an argument that the blocks aren't strong enough to handle boost. It's already been proven to be bullshit. And it wouldn't take much to make aluminum blocks. I don't understand why we don't have aluminum blocks at this stage, but we're still dealing with these cast iron blocks, and they're plenty strong. It's just that we've got to find a way to make these cars more efficient, not just with the platform itself, but it needs to be brought into the 2020s here, guys. I mean, yeah, aluminum blocks, that's a big thing. We need to see some other things to go along with that, though, whether it's technology, whether it's suspension geometry, which is kind of a sticking point for me with these Mopars. we've got to see something that is better than what we've got now, because as it sits, not all that impressive by comparison. You know, for its time, it's fantastic. And one of the great things about these cars is that they're very stable at high speed. I'll tell you something, I've hit long sweepers wide open with this thing. In fact, it regularly, when I'm doing data logging with this car, in the way that it's set up right now, I'm wide open for 14, 15, 16 seconds. And in that amount of time, let me tell you, it's a lot longer than going through the quarter mile. I'm already doing 130 through the quarter. In the street setup, I'm still clipping over 130 through the quarter. And that happens in about 11 seconds. And when I'm doing high load, high speed data logging, I'm doing it wide open through a curb. And these things are very stable in that situation. So I can tell you that I'm extremely impressed, even to this day, what I can get away with in this car and how confident I am and how stable the car is, where other cars that are kind of touted to be handling platforms, you know, cars that you would consider to handle well, especially like my Z06, would start to get a little sketchy. So just something to consider. Alex is saying, I always wondered why the Viper V10 only made 650 horses at 8.4 liters when the Audi R8 has a 5.2 V10 making anywhere from 560 to 610 horsepower naturally aspirated. Well, a lot of that has to do with the cylinder heads and the block architecture. That is a cam in block 2-valve 8.4 liter. It is a wedge head. It is not a Hemi, and it is really not, and never really was designed to make a ton of horsepower. If you're familiar with a Pontiac 383, then the geometry of that engine is going to start to look eerily familiar. The guy that was part of the development of the V10 was actually a big Pontiac fan and kind of got away with a few things, a couple of Easter eggs in that engine. But, you know, all in, you know, the engine's, it's not a bad engine. It's a really good engine. In fact, it's extremely durable from a performance engine standpoint or from any engine standpoint. That engine would make a great tank engine, make a great boat engine. I mean, it's just, it will always start. They're super easy to work on. I mean, so for all those reasons, they're great cars. So they're cheap to build. But they just lack the technology. They lack cylinder head flow realistically. I mean, for practical purposes here. When you compare them to the efficiency of a 4-valve engine, you know, dual overhead cam, it's tough to compete with that. But from a packaging standpoint, that engine architecture works really well. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it's great, but and you can get great horsepower numbers and get fantastic reliability out of a V8. You don't need a V10. And if you need more power, that's what forced induction is for. So again, as much as I love V10s, they're a little on the obsolete side, the way that the Viper has been using them, in my opinion anyway. And to that point too, man, they just don't pick up a lot of power with mods and not retain any real drivability. So we need to see something that's going to be making, you know, about 700 horsepower in that car. And, you know, you take 700 horsepower out of a boosted Hemi, aluminum block, it's going to be practically bomb proof. Put whatever transmissions will fit in the thing, you know, HP 90 and a TR 60 would probably be just fine. Get the thing to freaking be a car that you can actually have universal appeal with, which means you don't have to have only one iteration. You know, have an all aluminum 6.2 or an all aluminum 392 to go along with it. You know, 392 somewhere in the, you know, because it would be great from a cost savings point of view. You've already got everything there. So let's say a 520 horse 392, which is just a cam and an intake away from that. And look at what you got. I mean, you got a car that anybody can drive that's going to be just a fun car and you've already got all the parts there to do it. I just don't, what is the holdup with that? How is that difficult? I don't get that. Anyway, that's what I would do if it were me. Shawnee saying, hey, I appreciate that. Saying, good night, a little nugget for Revlon. Adios, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I like it. Let's see. But thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Thanks for checking in, brother. Dr. Dev saying you saw a wide body Charger today. It's a beautiful car, and I don't care for the purple, but it had a 392 in it. Very nice. Shawnee's saying his stock 392 made 425 on a dyno jet at the wheels. That is about what they typically will put down. Anywhere between 425 and 435. Uncle Stink for saying I skipped him. Man, where did I skip you, bro? Hold on. I talked about when you said it's far removed. Let's see. Where did I skip you? I talked about the LX being far removed from the Mercedes. So I don't know what I missed, bro. Ruben saying, oh yeah, Dodge incentives during this shutdown. Rumors, thoughts? I don't know. I haven't heard of anything new over and above what they're at right now. I know Chevrolet, if you've got wicked credit, you can get 0% for 84 months. That's pretty insane. So yeah, that would get me to thinking about a new vet if I were, so inclined. Derek saying, I have the 2019 Charger Scout with the Dynamics ECT. I went to get the Daytona, but they wanted way too much. I believe around $118K. If I spend something like that, I'd prefer to wait for the red eye. Yeah, for sure. 118,000. Wow. Uncle Steve was saying, oops, you didn't skip me. My bad. Thanks again, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Have a great one. Rip is saying, yo, y'all. What's up, Rip? Uncle Steve was saying, I'm sorry. I thought updates were made to the LX by Mopar were pretty significant. Am I wrong? Yeah. Well, there weren't any real updates, bro. The only the updates were mainly the powertrain. So you had the new HP 70, HP 90 transmissions, along with the ZF rear end, which is debatable if that was an upgrade over the old Gay-Trag unit. But everything else is basically the same. There wasn't any major structural change that was made. And again, like I said, I could put you in fact, if I field dressed a Charger and W211 E-Class, W211 is just the designation for an E-Class, you would be very hard pressed to tell the difference between the two. And again, there just weren't that many changes that were made aside from skin. Hinge placements and things like that are going to change. And then the Challenger is obviously a pretty big departure, which always blew me away. I didn't understand why they didn't use the C-Class for the Challenger, but I guess it was cheaper to use the same E-Class platform, basically. Let's see. Shawnee's saying Challenger is way overdue for a refresh. They might leave it alone and then cancel in 2024. I don't know, man. I think that there's not going to be a whole lot of folks that are going to be looking to Mopar to make any huge changes. The platform is just doing way too well. It's got universal appeal and has been very strong in terms of sales figures leading up to this point. Plus, you got to remember, Camaro might be going away again. Camaro got a lot of quit in it, don't it? It's a shame. Anyway, Camaro, if Camaro goes away again, then you're just going to be looking at Mopar and Ford, basically the two bookends when it comes to a driving experience. And because of that, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, is there going to be an incentive to change when your competition goes away? I'd like to think that the building of the brand and the evolution of the species would keep keeping on, right? But so far as I can tell, I don't really see that being the case. I don't think we're going to see too much of a departure from where we're at. And realistically, I mean, it would take a major change to, I don't know, to facilitate FCA to really do anything with it, I think, at this point. And when I say a major change, it would take a major change in the marketplace, is what I was just talking about. So anyway, let's see. Rick's saying, hey, B, just got to my phone. Great to see you tonight. Great seeing you, Rick. Sean's checking in, saying, oh, he's hanging out with Rift. Rift and Rick. Let's see. Everybody's saying, what's up? Rick just came in. Rick's saying, I just cut the insurance back on both the Hellcat and my TA because of everything shutting down. Just have to wait all this stuff out. Yeah, I just have to wait it out, man. That's just the way it is. Let's see, Rip is hanging out with Ruben and Sean. Let's see, Alex is saying a safer Viper with an aluminum Hellcat engine and HP90 trans would be so sick. Oh, yeah, for sure. But in the interest of weight savings and balance, maybe a twin turbo setup would be better. The problem with a twin turbo setup, and the reason why I don't think that they would go that route, would be cost. The development for a twin turbo setup for any V8 is going to be tough, especially a cam and block type of a setup. I also just don't see them going to a dual overhead cam setup for packaging reasons and for cost reasons, things like that. Just not really viable. Not when you can potentially, again, this personal opinion here, but if Dodge were to release a Viper, aluminum Hellcat, red eye, whatever platform you want to roll with, but that setup in aluminum with the HP90 or a TR6060 would cover you on any power output that you want to make. It would still be front engine, rear drive, so it still has more of a traditional feel to it, which is going to be kind of a big deal for a lot of folks because that's what they're used to. And it looks good too. But for packaging purposes, that's going to be a huge thing. So I think it wins on every account. I mean, you already have the engine architecture sitting there. You're not reinventing this thing. And, you've already got aluminum blocks that have been used in the Elephant. Maybe that would be a halo motor, start putting that in a bit more of a serious production. I don't know. But I would not really want to see it get to that point. I think that the ego starts to take over and it starts to turn a lot of people off. Do it right. Keep it simple. You'll have a car that will accidentally go nines with a couple of changes to the tune, just based on weight and power alone. Leave it there, improve the handling to where it doesn't understeer so badly. You'll have a car that's going to be a riot. Oh, give it a great launch control too. Let's see. Them boys, Ronnie, what's up, man? Saying, do you think the muscle car scene is oversaturated with Mustangs, Camaros, Chargers, and Challengers? And do you think that major car companies need to bring back more cars from the 60s and 70s? The problem that I can see, and this is just, again, my own personal opinion, but none of the cars are very fun anymore. You might think that I am full of shit for saying that, but just hear me out. The problem that we're seeing right now is that, yes, I would say it is oversaturated. The only neat car that's really being released to me, in my personal opinion, is the Corvette because it is so different. But is it different? Because look, we've had mid-engine cars out now for forever. We're all kind of used to them. I mean, Audis, Lambos, NSX from old school. We're used to seeing mid-engine cars, MR2. We're Fiero. How far down do you want me to go? Anyway, I am a little bit bummed out about how fast cars are as opposed to how fun they are, or at least how fun they were. Keeping in mind that, the legends of the 60s would struggle to go high 12s, honestly, on a tire. Stock engine, good state of tune, good air on a sticky tire. a lot of them really would be hard pressed to even go a 1289. So we've got cars that are more than capable of covering those numbers. So you would think that they would be more fun, but they're not. They're heavier, they're bulkier, they're a little bit more wallowy, and that's all of them. You know, the Mustang, yeah, it's a little bit more fleet of foot, but it's still not. You don't get the same driving experience with these modern cars that you do with the older ones. And also to the point now when every one of these cars is a 9-second car with a little bit of mods. I don't care which one it is. Mustang, Camaro, Hellcat, Charger, Hellcat, Challenger, Red Eye, pick one. It does, you know, the list goes on. And nobody's really having fun with them. It's always the 1, 2, 3, 9, and they, you know, haul ass down, you know, doing roll racing, or, you know, you get the things lined up on the drag strip, and you've got to be on a tire, or else it's pointless to even take the thing to the drag strip. The GT500 and the Vet, you can maybe get away with them, but they're launching soft more to save the transmission. You know, the fact that it launches well is great, you know, and that's a nice side benefit. But the reality is that getting the thing to launch without snapping the transmission in half is kind of tough. So I don't know. You start going through the list of cars that are available now, and again, there's very little to get excited about because we've been seeing the same 3 girls on stage now for so long that it's like, dude, it's just, they become part of the freaking wallpaper. So I get it. The new Vet, you know, spark your interest for a little bit, but once you get used to seeing those things everywhere, it's going to be, you know, it's another Vet. It's just the damn shame of the cost. I guess to answer your question, because I'm kind of all over the board with this. Here's what we need. We need more affordable, fun hot rods like the Mustang, but with more displacement. In other words, the cost of a Mustang with the modability of a Mustang, with the torque of a Challenger or Charger, and with the universal modability of an LS. I mean, how do you come up with that unicorn, right? I don't know. Maybe that'll be the next Camaro, but I guess when you start to look at the landscape of what cars are out there, nobody really pays attention to the fun cars, you know, the naturally aspirated cars that are out there. All the focus is always on the supercharged cars and how fast they're going and all of that. The big numbers always get the attention, but, you know, living with them isn't always all that fun. I mean, I can't go out and I could, but anyway, living with cars that make 700, 800, 900 horsepower, the fun factor isn't there. And I wish that there was more of a focus on fun than fast. I think that would help more than anything. But yeah, bring back some of the AMC cars, by the way, FCA. Be cool, man. AMX this joint up a little bit. Give us a scrambler, the SC Rambler. Rip is saying, so glad I got my Mickey's back on, dude. I can't wait to get a new set for my car. Kevin saying, hey, what do you think about the 5-speed 392 compared to the 8-speed 392? Man, it is not even close. Would way prefer to have the HP 70. It kind of depends on what you're going to do with the car, but God, the HP 70s are just so much more responsive to drive. I'm not talking about, you know, wide open throttle, you know, highway stuff or whatever. They're all about the same at that point. I don't want to get too nitpicky when it comes to that, but just, you know, driving the car around in general, the HP cars, the 8-speed cars are just a lot more responsive to drive. So take that for what it's worth. Jerry's saying Mopar and no car. Absolutely. Then Boys is saying, they say the Camaro is coming back and it's supposed to be all electric. Man, that's the case. I mean, God, please don't let that be the case. I mean, I get it. If you want an all-electric Camaro, then I'm cool with that. But I don't know that I'm ready to give up the whole gasoline-powered thing. If it did come back and it was making 1,000 feet of torque and it was just stupid and, you know, had a nominal range of, say, 350 miles, that'd be tough to overlook, because then you'd have a car that you could take to the drag strip, make 5 passes with it, drive it home, never have to worry about ventilating a block. And I mean, it would be awesome if they get it. Look, if they get it right, if they can just get it right, that's all I'm worried about. Just get it right, and just get it right this one time, so that moving forward, you'll have a template on how to get it right a second time. If you're going to unleash into the world an electric pony car, an electric muscle car, I am super on board with that. But just for the love of God, get it right. If that rumor is true, don't fuck this up. Because if this gets fucked up, it's going to fuck it up for everybody for the next 20 years. This is one of those situations where if you're going to change the game, then you had better be the absolute best at it moving forward, because we've got electric cars right now. Tesla kicking everybody's ass with the hot rod electric car scene. Bring some of that into the mix. Just, you got to be the fastest. You got to be the torquiest. You got to be the most exciting to drive. You've got to be the everything that's better. And it's got to be, instead of that pyramid or that triangle that I always point out, where that Camaro is always down here, it's got to be way up here. It's got to set the stage and set the bar so high and so properly that nobody's got a second, that nobody can, everybody's going to be playing second to that car, I'm trying to say. So if it's there, great, but I just don't see GM getting it right. I don't mean to be pessimistic, not trying to sound jaded, not trying to throw a bunch of shade on it, but when's the last time that the man got anything right? And if the problem, and here's the other problem too, it's GM. All right, it's GM. GM is not counterculture the way that Dodge is. GM is not the nerdist that the Fords are. GM is the man. And I don't mean like GM's the man. I mean like GM is the corporate entity of General Motors. It is the establishment. And you know what? If GM does it, you know Ford will come out with something that's just better. That's the problem here. It'll be the first time that Ford would be able to out Camaro the Camaro at their own game, if that is going to end up being the case. But, you know, I would sooner see FCA put a diesel in the Hellcat than put an electric motor in it. That's just how FCA rolls. It's a joke. But realistically speaking, I think that they would be last to get on board. But if the Camaro ever did it, God, man, I'm hoping they get it right. Anyway, back to it. Rick said, I'm trying to figure out how to send you some money. I've done it before and now don't see how to. It's the super chats, man. These super chats. I don't know what your screen looks like on your side, though. But yeah, check out super chat. Thank you very much. Hey, man, appreciate the thought. For sure. Thank you. Jerry's saying, we need a CUDA. Yeah, we do need a CUDA. We need something. I mean, we need something to compete with some of this new flock of cars. To me, the red eye is cool. I mean, you can always horsepower a problem away, but the red eye doesn't. Here's the problem: the red eye doesn't show enough of a departure and enough of an upgrade. It doesn't separate itself enough from the Hellcat to really be that next level. It's like a placeholder. So I'm wondering what's going to come afterwards. Is it going to be really good? Because the red eye is really good, but the red eye, again, is a bit more of a placeholder to me. I'll give you a perfect example of that. Go to the Build Your Own page on the Dodge website. You'll find that there is one option that is eerily missing in the Hellcat menu that is available in the red eye, and that is the rear gear ratio. You can option a red eye with a 309 gear. You cannot option a Hellcat with a 309 gear. That to me makes all the difference in the world. The two cars are relativistically inseparable. You riding in one, you would not notice the difference from one to the other than the red eye does feel torquier down low. But aside from that, not going to notice much of a difference. That to me, especially in quarter mile ET, they're only about maybe a car length apart. They're going through the traps pretty much nose to tail. Or in other words, way too close for the cost difference. But you know, you leave the 262 out of it, put them both on a drag pack, and the red eye will do some damage. But again, it's kind of interesting that they don't offer that gear in the Hellcat, which is a real shame that they don't offer it from the factory. Dim Boys, I think, yeah, I talked about the oversaturated thing. So I don't know why. Is this thing like not showing some of y'all's? But yeah, no, I did get it, and I did chat about it. So maybe it's, I'm just not seeing them. That's weird. But yeah, hopefully I got to it. Well, I know I talked about it, but I just want to make sure that we got it in sequence. Rip is saying, I raced the ZL1 earlier and beat it pretty good. I think the torque makes a big difference with these cars, Hellcat or 392 over others. It does. And the ZL1, man, it's just, it's third tier at this stage. It's a bummer. I really kind of like the ZL1. But they're, you know, the blower's kind of small. They're just a little bit underpowered by comparison. Although I do feel, again, personal opinion, ZL1 is an incredibly well-balanced car. If you never get a chance to, if you've never had a chance to drive one, especially with a 10-speed automatic, they might not be as quick as a Hellcat, but damn, they're really well-balanced cars to drive. And when it comes to handling, or at least steering response, they're great, and they hold the road just fine. Now, you guys all know my stance on handling. I think, you know, for practical purposes and practical application, handling, all cars handle really well today. I mean, you've got to start splitting hairs for all practical purposes to find one that handles better than another. But suffice it to say that a ZL1 handles pretty darn good, and they're a lot of fun to drive, albeit a little bit taxing, given that the visibility is kind of shitty in those cars. But hey, if nothing else, you know, they look the part. Oh, Dim Boys is saying because they come built up already, that's why they are not fun anymore. Back in the day, you had to build up your car. And saying, well, people need to get back to the older cars like the SS Monte Carlos or Ford Thunderbirds or Dodge Magnums and things like that. And he's saying that's what he's going to do. He's going to get a car from the 80s to the early 2000s, sell his 14 GT and build an older car up. That's kind of what we're doing with my wife's Camaro. It's a 92 Rally Sport. And the problem is that modern safety standards are just through the roof by comparison to the older cars, but they need to be. I mean, they're making a significant amount more power. They need to be safer. They're able to get to speed so much faster than the older cars. So you've got that to consider. I kind of wish that, you know, I can say this, I don't want to waste a wish on this, but there's way too many, there's way too few, I should say, options for cars to buy. So in other words, you know, I'd like to see something with a bit more style coming from the manufacturers. Everything looks like an electric razor to me. The only cars that look good to me are the Challenger, the Charger, the Mustang, and the Camaro. That's it. I mean, and the Camaro is the last on the list because even it still looks a little bit too generic. But you don't have, for whatever reason, the market's just gone away from this, which is a real shitty thing. No accounting for class anymore, I suppose. But you don't have cars like the Imperial. You don't have cars like the Thunderbird. You don't have cars that the 88, the Oldsmobile. Remember the old school 88s, man? Those things were sweet. But you just don't have that real beefy, real chunky American car anymore. You don't have the car that, was a statement piece. Everything is now derived from something else. I mean, God forbid, like Cadillacs, for example, they're all seemingly derived from another GM car. It used to not be like that. Only Cadillacs had Cadillac engines. The class is gone. The feel is gone. The coolness is gone. And we're left with cars that, albeit, they're so much faster, so much stronger, whatever the case you want to call it, but everything else is just kind of lacking. And as a car guy, again, I mean, you get used to it, seeing the same thing over and over and over again. It just kind of becomes the wallpaper. Isn't it weird how many Hellcats there are today? 15, 18, 20,000, whatever the number is today, Hellcat Challengers. That's crazy. I mean, there are more Hellcat Challengers that have been produced by a significant margin, by an overwhelming number, than the total number of Hemi cars that were made from 1964 to 1971. That is nutty to me. So, and that didn't take into account Chargers, Trackhawks, anything else with a Hellcat engine. That's not even in that equation. So anyway, kind of a fun thing to consider. Let's see. Ruben's saying that 5-speed Gatrag, if modded, needs 373 at the least. Yeah, it does. I've been saying that, the NAG 1 cars with a 370 gear are a lot of fun. Absolutely worth it. This problem is, man, the 370 gear is so freaking expensive. Uncle Sneak was saying, for me, my 392 Charger is perfect for the ultimate fun car. Love NA Motors. Did not want a forced induction car. The perfect fun car for the street is the 392. I will agree with that. Dim Boy's saying Ford already has an all-electric Mustang that supposedly makes 1,000 horsepower. Would love to see it. I know that there's a guy that made an all-electric fastback. And that thing is freaking stupid fast. There's a bunch of guys at one point. There were people doing electric conversions on pretty much anything. I don't know whatever happened to that, but I think one of the issues was they're having a bunch of problems with speed controllers getting too hot. But I've seen AC Cobra kit cars or component cars with electrics, Mustangs, electrics, pickup trucks. Bunch of conversions, so I'm cool with that, man. I like that. Dim Boy's saying, speaking of Tesla, did you see that new truck that they made? Yeah, a little bit. Not really my cup of tea. I don't know, man. That's just it's more of a concept than anything else. That and their big rig. Let's see, Dim Boy's saying, that's where GM messed up. They shouldn't have killed off Pontiac. Pontiac was a company that was the most innovative. It was consistently pushing the boundaries and trying out new things. I tell you something, I've always loved Pontiac. And when they let Pontiac go, the writing was on the wall, man. It started putting the LS and the Firebirds and Camaros, and something's not right. Pontiac always was kind of the bad boy of the group. Camaro was always a little bit straight-laced, but the Firebird always had something for it. Whether it was the 400, the 455, they always had something that was a little bit cooler. And that's just the way it always was, man. Pontiac, for whatever reason, kind of struck a little bit different chord with me. So, when they did away with Pontiac, man, they kind of killed it. That's kind of what killed GM a little bit for me. No more Pontiac means, sorry, mate, just lost a little bit of it. Lost my enthusiasm for them. Rip is saying, thumbs up all, not middle fingers. Is there a middle finger icon? That'd be awesome. Let's see, Ghost 74 is saying the block for his 350 is going to the machine shop next week. They looked at it and think number 7 will need a sleeve, but would rather spend the money than try to hone it myself. Thank you for the tip. Absolutely. Going to go 383. Very nice. Let's see. Oh, Uncle Sneaker saying, yeah, dude, that's why I thought you skipped me. It's because when people donate, it gets pushed ahead. Oh, yeah, to you on screen, but it ignores us viewers. Keep donating to Revlon, though. Yeah, she needs all the donations she can get right now. That tire fund. Ghost 74 is asking, do I have to reuse my old cam on my Chevy 350, or can I get something to open up my valves a little bit more? No, you can absolutely get a different cam for that thing, man. For sure. Xcash is saying they should have called the Mach-E the Thunderbird. That's going back. Ghost 74 is saying that's because Challenger Hellcats are sexy as fucking fast. Yeah, they are. Love me some freaking Mopars, man. Like I say, this car fits me to a T. I love it. Oh, Dibboy's saying, I like the fact that Tesla did something new, made a different design from all the other trucks that are out there. And he's saying his cousin always said the Trans Am was a Camaro's evil twin. Yeah, I always loved Pontiacs. And yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Tesla's going to do cool and innovative things. It may not always strike the greatest chord, but I will say this, it will always be something cool and innovative. So, let's see what the production version looks like. Might be awesome, man. I'm never one to start throwing shade on anything like that, especially when you can have it at the power levels that truck is purported to be capable of being able to produce. So, again, man, like I say, I love where Tesla is going. I love the whole idea of the electric car. Really would like to see how far we can push the boundaries of battery technology. And guys, you got to remember too, way back, over 100 years ago, battery power was the way things were going to go. And it was really only because of the electric starter motor that we got hemmed up with automobiles. So automobiles that were going to be gasoline powered, I should say. But yeah, electric power, for a lot of folks, I mean, it was kind of the front runner, especially in urban areas, where gasoline was tough to get, starting the things was a pain in the ass, especially if you lived up in New York, New Jersey, Detroit, that area. And you wanted something that was going to be electric. It's a lot easier to live with, but a lot more convenient for sure. But, it went the way that it went. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that once we get battery technology where it needs to be, electric cars can be a whole lot more fun real quickly. Let's see. Oh, Ruben's got the middle finger. I didn't know we had the middle finger icon. Cool. We got it. I love it. Jamie's saying, miss the old big block Trans Ams. Man, I'm telling you, there is no way that I would ever not be in love with the old Pontiacs or any of the B-body Mopars, any of the big block cars, man. Those were, the problem is that it's tough to translate a driving experience of a big block nowadays. The multi-speed transmissions, the transmission is always shifting. So you can't really equate it. Even if the car is faster, you can't really equate it. But hanging a car with a big block on the converter is actually pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. Just to feel that wave of torque and that tip-in throttle response is pretty awesome. Let's see. See, Ghost 74 is saying, where can I get a good cam? There are a lot of websites, but I'm not sure where to go. Comp cams for what you are looking for will be perfect. Derek is saying electric Hummer thoughts 1,000 horsepower is crazy. I'll take it, man. Like I say, any of the modern electric stuff is going to be badass. Ruben Garcia is saying that that 455 TA was sweet. My absolute number 2 all-time favorite would be a 1974 Super Duty 455. Ghost 74 is asking, have you ever heard of a drag car running on natural gas? Yes, I have. I've seen them. It's kind of rare, but there was a guy running a Camaro, like a 70, like a disco era Camaro on natural gas. God, it's been 20 years ago. Don't know whatever happened to it. The car wasn't all that fast, but I think it was more just the idea that somebody was trying something new. But yep, I have absolutely heard of it. The boys saying, man, I miss Pontiac. They're ahead of their time. They were always trying new stuff like Pontiac Aztec. Car was ugly, but had a lot of innovative features that people would love now in their SUVs. You know what's funny about the Aztec? A lot of people have circled back around and are buying up Aztecs just because they are quirky. They're so different. They look different. You'd be surprised. They actually have found kind of a resurgence here in the last, I would say, the last couple of years. So, yeah, they were way ahead of their time with the Aztec. The funny thing is that it's got some really kind of cool features, man. I mean, kind of hard to look at, but once you get past that, you get over that, it's actually a good car. But yeah, there is a certain segment that's actually been circling back around and picking up those quirky old Aztecs, man. Those are pretty cool cars. Ghost 74 is saying, I want a new design of the Challenger. I would like to see something a little bit smaller for the Challenger. Again, I'm surprised I didn't use something more akin to the C-Class for the Challenger. But something that's maybe a little bit shorter. Keep the width if you want, but a little bit more compact, I think would be a good way to save a little bit of weight. More or less keep the same platform, but make the car a little bit smaller in proportions. Make that horsepower work a little bit better for you that it's already making. You don't need new engines. You don't need a 426. You don't need any of that. You need to make the car a little bit lighter, a little bit better cam in the thing. I got to tell you guys something, man. I mean, I know it sucks that it's so expensive to make a Hemi fast. I get that. And I also know that you don't pick up a ton of power unless you start to try to give up something down low with these cars. But what I'll say is this. It wouldn't take very much at all to push these things to about 520 horsepower, make it an aluminum block, and just let that ride for the next 10 or 12 years. Kind of like they've already done already. And then Dim Boy's saying, see, that's more proof that GM shouldn't have gotten rid of them. They were revolutionary. The cool thing about it is that sometimes, or just, I'm not saying the cool thing about what I should have said is the interesting thing about some cars is that they can be so far ahead of their time that you just can't see their worth at the time. But the Aztec is one of those cars. It did so many cool and quirky things. The look of it is what people couldn't get over, and there was and it became the butt of a joke, as opposed to somebody's, a lot of guys were looking at it going, look, say whatever you want about the aesthetics of it, but the functionality is there. The reliability was there. So there was that, at least so far as I could tell. That's what folks have told me about them. But I don't, again, it's just, there's a lot of cool things about it that unfortunately it got kind of turned into the butt of a joke. But you say that same thing about the Gremlins. Look at how popular those cars are still to this day. If you can find a clean one, look at what they go for. So anyway, kind of some interesting stuff there too. Ghost saying, don't get me wrong, I love to look at these cars, but I want something a little sleeker. I can understand that completely. King's Eye checking in and say, what up, you Mason? I'm a little afraid to buy a used Hellcat. What do I look for when I test drive one? Well, there's a few things to look for. Number one is, has it been modified? If it's been modified and you don't mind and you're in the market for a modified Hellcat, then fine, find out who did the build on the car. If you can't qualify the shop that did the build, then move away from that vehicle. Hellcats are actually really robust, and most of them have been very well taken care of. So to find something wrong is kind of hard at this point. But you're going to want to take a look at things like motor mounts, transmission mounts. Take a look at the car, look behind, right? Turn this around real quick. Right behind the rear wheel, right behind that wheel arch. Take a look back there and make sure there's not a whole bunch of rubber caked up behind that rear fender. Don't get a car that doesn't have catalytic converters. That's the other thing, if at all possible. And the less modified that vehicle is, the better. Try to find one that's as stock as possible. If it's been modified tastefully, don't worry too much about it. Don't worry about idler pulleys or an intake or anything like that. That's just somebody being enthusiastic about their car. Worry more about pulleys and things like that. If you see an aftermarket drive shaft underneath the car, you're going to want to drive that thing, because chances are it's going to vibrate its ass off unless it's one of the very, very new DSS drive shafts. But an aftermarket drive shaft can mean the car has been tracked quite a bit, although it's not bad for the car, at least in terms of, drag strip passes of, say in the 600 range. They're still doing just fine at that point. But, again, you just want to use your better judgment and make sure you're not getting something that's ragged out. Typically, it's hard to hurt a Hellcat, but some common problems you can run into. There was a stretch of late 2015, early 16 build dates had issues with the snout bearings on the supercharger. So you're going to want to check and see if that has been taken care of as a recall. And aside from that, that's really about it. So nothing too much to look for. They're all like I say, these cars are extremely durable, so it's hard to hurt them, but walk around the car. And again, if the deal's too good to be true, chances are something's wrong with the thing. Don't try to get the absolute best deal that you can. Try to get the absolute best car that you can and negotiate on that car and on that car's merits. I've seen some high mileage Hellcats that would make for great dailies, and I've seen some low mileage Hellcats that need to be thrown into the river. So Ghost 74 I just realized the Cam's banner behind you. Absolutely. The boys are saying, crazy thing is now most midsize SUVs are kind of shaped like Aztecs or borrow features from the Aztec. I know, right? They're all getting a little bit more angular. Escalade, anybody? Escalade to me looks like a really big Aztec. The boys are saying, also, is it me or did Pontiac come up with some badass names for their cars? GTO, Trans Am, Aztec, and so on. I know it, right? I mean, Tempest. That is probably one of my favorite. Tempest and Interceptor are my two favorite car names. One of them is an English car, British car, I should say. The other one is the Pontiac. So Catalina, just really cool sounding names. So yeah, they always had a good job with that. Derek's saying, my biggest complaint with my Scat is the 285s. I have a problem grabbing for sure. Do you have any suggestions? I was thinking possibly you're talking about the 275s. Possibly a 305 Pilot Sport. Should I get wider wheels and 315s? I would suggest getting the replicas. I've got a set of the replicas on my car in the rear. That's what they look like. Those are the, what are the 10.5s? And those are 305 35s on the back of that thing. And I love them. So, but yeah, get the wider wheel. It's going to give you a much better contact patch, a much more consistent contact patch. The 305s on a 9.5, if they're underinflated, will cup a little bit as they go up, actually, as they go up into the wheel. And getting them at the proper inflation, it's just hard to get a good contact patch. Get the right width wheel and go with those tires and you will be good to go. And then boys running saying, random question. If you had a Subaru Baja, what V8 motor would you swap in it with a Coyote LS LT1 or a Hemi? I would go LS3 for that. And because it's the smallest engine that makes the most power per like square inch of just architecture that it takes up. So, but I would go really any of the LSs, it really wouldn't matter. Baja, you can get away with a 4.8 and have a ball with it. But I would say, you know, any of the LS platforms would be the way that I would go. Let's see, Ghost 74 is saying, I'm looking for a used Hellcat as well, but since I work for the dealer, I could just go with a new 392. I just don't like that they reuse the Hellcat's hoods on the lower end models. Yeah, let's talk about that. So, but a little waterfalling isn't bad, but damn, I mean, come on, it's getting a little out of hand with Mopars, but it is what it is, man. What can you do? And then boys saying it's exactly what I was thinking, an LS3 compatible with the Baja. Yeah, mainly because, again, it's just the most compact. I would never, ever suggest a Coyote swap into anything. I don't care if it is a Ford or whatever, it's getting an LS, like a Fox body, just because, again, it's just a pain in the ass dealing with that. Well, I say it's a pain in the ass. It would probably be a pain in the ass for me. There's a lot of people that probably do it very easily. But it's just so easy and so familiar to go with a cam and block type of a setup. Plus, you know, and the Hemi is the problem with the Hemi, man, it's just going to be potentially prohibitively expensive, really, to go that route. So anyway. Derek's checking in saying, I'm debating putting the 392 in my 2015 Willis. Should be a good time. Probably have a lot of drivetrain work to do. So they're at, what the hell, Gateway Classic Cars had a 32 Ford with a 392 in it, and it was pretty badass. Probably a little bit of driveline work to do, but I think you're on the right track there. Let's see. Boys running the 5-liter, have that engine tick, and yeah, the Hemi is way too expensive. Well, there is that too, right? I mean, take a look at what it takes. Just try to do a Google search and find a 6.1 liter for sale. They're extremely expensive. Try to find, even 5.7s are kind of pricey, you know, for the latest iteration of them. I would say, yeah, anything that is going to cost you more than $1,000, you know, intake to oil pan is going to be a little bit outside of the range. So, you know, shit, really, man, a 5.3, you know, a cammed 5.3 with long tubes makes plenty of power. So, you know, again, it just depends on what your goals are and what you want to do with the car. Let's see. Go 74 I want to tell everybody in the chat and UB, please stay safe. They canceled all of our National Guard training this year. Damn. I think something big is going to happen. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, everybody stay safe out there. And then Boys is asking, has Ford fixed that engine tick, by the way? Man, I don't know what they've done. You know, it's I haven't heard of a fix if there is one. I need to look that up. I meant to do that the other day. Let's see. Yeah, Go 74, man. I don't know, brother. I think that that's really more of a gathering thing. They're just trying to keep, you know, as many people from being in contact with each other as possible for, you know, at least until they get a handle on this thing. Let's see. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for me. We're coming up on a little over an hour and a half. Everybody stay safe. Use your hand sanitizer. Wash your hands. Soap is your new best friend. Get out there and have some fun, but keep your distance. You know, the whole social distancing thing we got to do. But that is going to be a wrap for me. Y'all have a great one. Let's see. Them boys saying also don't forget the manual transmissions are having issues with third and fourth gear. Oh, yeah, the new ones are. Yeah. It's not fleas, it's ticks, right? But hey, listen, you guys have a great one. Stay safe out there, and I will catch y'all on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios.